Asaduddin Owaisi. He has attacked all such opposition parties, India alliance parties basically, for towing the BJP and RSS line and essentially, according to him, being no different than the BJP and the RSS. Is he correct when he says this is nothing but competitive Hindutva? Is this serious devotion for Lord Ram by opposition members, or is it a competition for votes? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. But first up, let me just play out the war of words ahead of the Pran Pratishtha between the AIMIM and the Aam Aadmi Party. This is after the Aam Aadmi Party announced that there will be Sundarkand recitations that they will hold in every assembly constituency yet again. So Asaduddin Owaisi came out and criticized the Aam Aadmi Party, saying that they are indulging in competitive Hindutva. Aam Aadmi Party said that they don't need a certificate from every leader. They have, of course, shooed away the criticism that has come their way. Asaduddin Owaisi has also gone on to say that essentially this is following the Sangh Parivar. He has asked, how are you any different from Narendra Modi or the RSS if you are doing what you're doing? He has also accused parties like the Congress and the Shiv Sena UBT for also playing this same competitive Hindutva, or what we used to call soft Hindutva card. Arvind Kejriwal-led Aam Aadmi Party has only said that Kejriwal believes in his religion and therefore he is going to be taking part in the Sundarkand part, which he did this evening. But let's talk about the Aam Aadmi Party's plan to revive the Sundarkand parts in the national capital. Now, this is not the first time that this is happening, because earlier also they had announced it just after coming to power the last time. So this is something that is happening even as they are non-committal. They are saying officially they have not received the invite for the Pran Pratishtha, but they'll decide as and when they do so. They haven't said no just yet. But meanwhile, they have declared that the Sundarkand Pans will be organized once every month, and this is going to be taking place on the first Tuesday of every month. The Sundarkand parts will be organized not just at the Vidhan Sabha level, but in every ward and even at the mandal levels. They're asking their party machinery to do this. The party's plan is that 2,600 such programs will take place just in the national capital. Remember, the Aam Aadmi Party had first announced this similar program post the 2020 election results. In that election campaign too, the Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal had declared himself a Hanuman Bhakt. In fact, he also visited the Hanuman Temple in Connaught Place in Delhi as his first pit stop after the election results were declared. So, AAP could claim that this is not something they're doing just ahead of January 22. This is something they have done in the past. But why are they reviving the Sundarkand part, which had fizzled away? They weren't really being conducted regularly in different parts of the national capital. Why have they revived this tradition now is a question they must answer. Meanwhile, the Congress's said confusion over Ram Mandir has also been talked about. And here too the party has some explanation to do, because they procrastinated for as many as 14 days, 2 weeks on the invite for the Pran Pratishtha, and then they finally, the top brass finally declined that event on that invite on January 10th. Many could argue the fact that it took them so long to decide whether they should go or not in itself means that they were also weighing the political pros and cons before deciding. But there is confusion as far as the rank and file is concerned, because local leaders, grassroots leaders openly expressed dissatisfaction immediately after this invite was rejected. An announcement was made by Jairam Ramesh on Twitter. The next day though, there was again a confused messaging, because the Congress leadership said that the UP Congress unit will be visiting Ayodhya. They can be part of the Pran Pratishtha as well if they want to be. And just a day ago, you had the Uttar Pradesh Congress delegation led by Dipender Hooda, Ajay Rai and Akhilesh Pratap Singh taking a dip in the Saryu on the occasion of Makar Sankranti. Many opponents questioning their confusing stand, as has been done by Asaduddin Owaisi as well. So is Owaisi correct? Is there comparative Ram Niti going on? Is it happening because of any devotion? Because parties believe that fundamentally they do stand for Lord Ram? Or is it primarily a competition for votes ahead of an election year? We'll take that to our guest next.
they are into Hindutva politics. What we are seeing in the country is competitive Hindutva politics.
देखिए, मुझे नहीं लगता कि मुझे उनकी बात का जवाब देना चाहिए। मैं तो हनुमान जी से प्रार्थना करूंगा कि उनको भी, ओवैसी साहब को भी हनुमान जी आशीर्वाद दें।
हर भारतवासी के लिए राम मंदिर एक आस्था का इशू है। इट इज अ डीपली फेल्ट इमोशनल इशू फॉर crores and hundreds of crores of Indians.
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Anuja Kapoor is spokesperson of the BJP. Abhinandan Mathur is joining us from the Aam Aadmi Party. Kapil Madan, lawyer, political activist, leans towards the Congress Party. And I'm also joined with Bilal Khan, lawyer and political analyst. So, Bilal Khan, why is it so wrong for a party like the Aam Aadmi Party or for the Congress leaders to visit Ayodhya or, conduct any Sundarkand part? Why is it that the likes of Asaduddin Owaisi don't like it? Not every politician is going to play their politics according to Mr. Owaisi, isn't it?
ओवैसी की पॉलिटिक्स और आम आदमी पार्टी राइट नाउ सेम। कुछ भी जो भी है धर्म के आधार पर है, यू नो बेटर देन राम मंदिर का जो इन्वेंट हुआ है, जो सारी चीज़ें हैं अकॉर्डिंग टू द लॉ। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो जजमेंट दिया उसके बाद कुछ लोगों को इसमें पॉलिटिक्स करनी है। ये ओवैसी का स्टेटमेंट और जो आम आदमी का सुंदरकांड का मामला है, ये दोनों ही मिक्सअप पॉलिटिक्स है। देखिए, अगर कहें कि राम सबके हैं तो इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बात सही बात है, सबके हमारे भी आराध्य हैं, मुसलमानों के भी हैं। अगर ये चाहते हैं कि राम नहीं है तो हमें
We'll connect with Bilal Khan in just a bit. But let me go across to Kapil Madan as well. Kapil, is Mr. Owaisi not right when he suggests that there is comparative Hindutva going on? You don't want to attend the Pran Pratishta event because, you will become smaller players in a larger BJP or a Prime Minister show. But the Congress party and its leaders still do what they accuse the BJP of. In election times, they visit temples. Right now, the UP unit is taking a dip in the Saryu. Rahul Gandhi, we are being told, is going to visit a temple in Guwahati on January 22. So, if you are going to keep showing your devotion in public at all times, how are you any different than the BJP or the RSS? Is Mr. Owaisi's question.
Now, let me give you a very interesting, data point, and I'll be very precise in what I say. BJP's vote share, in the last election was about, 36, it was in 30%. So we have more than 80% of our population as Hindu population. So are you saying that the people who don't vote for BJP, are they not Hindus? If someone who is not aligned with the ideology of BJP, are they not allowed to practice their faith? It could be, any faith. So the point I'm trying to make here is that, there are several and considerable Hindu population that does not vote for BJP, and they don't identify their idea of religion with the philosophy that BJP wants to propagate. Now let me come back to what the opposition is saying. Now what is opposition is saying? Mr. Rahul Gandhi has recently said during his Nyaya Yatra that every individual and a Congress worker is free to go, because it is a matter of faith. If you are invited, or even if you are not invited, if you want to go, you can go anywhere, because it's a matter of faith. Congress as a political party is neutral in the matters of religion, that treats every religion equal. That's the essence of his recent statement. Now, I find it very, very, questionable that if an opposition leader goes to a temple, just because he is not from the BJP, will you take away his right to practice his own religion?
No, but this is a question not coming from me. This is a question coming from Asaduddin Owaisi. Why are you asking me?
No, the point is,
why is Asaduddin Owaisi, who is a secular politician, according to the Congress also, questioning the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party's secularism? And he has done so in the past too.
Now, Shivani, the point is, I don't see Mr. Owaisi also has any right to question anyone's religion, because Mr. Owaisi himself, if Mr. Owaisi talks about his religion, because his politics is very focused, and it is also based on religion. No one, I mean, Mr. Owaisi does not have any right to question any other individual coming from a different opposition party, which is not a BJP, to question if they go to the temple, because it's a matter of their own faith.
Okay, so Bilal is back with us. Let me just take that.
Logic.
Let me just quickly take that to him. Who is Asaduddin Owaisi to question anybody else's politics on religion or otherwise? Because as Kapil Madan is saying, Asaduddin Owaisi खुद अपनी politics सिर्फ Muslim issues पे करते हैं, सिर्फ मुसलमानों को address करके करते हैं, सिर्फ Muslim issues की बात करते हैं. तो वो कौन होते हैं किसी से पूछने वाले कि आप धर्म पे राजनीति कर रहे हैं?
नहीं, और भी पार्टीज करती हैं, ओनली नॉट वैसी प्लेइंग ए पॉलिटिक्स. इसमें तो बीजेपी डायरेक्टली इन्वॉल्व है, क्योंकि राम के नाम से, मंदिर के नाम से हमेशा से आपने देखा होगा जिस तरीके से ये शुरुआत से ही ये सिर्फ और मंदिर मस्जिद, और आपने देखा होगा घर वापसी और 80-20, ये जो मुद्दे रहते हैं, इनकी आइडियोलॉजी जो है वो पूरे भारत देश को पता है कि किस तरीके से राजनीति में हमेशा से इनका यही रहता है. कि जिसमें असादुद्दीन ओवैसी ने कह दिया वो भी अपनी राजनीति कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, कहा, अच्छी बात है. उन्होंने कोई गलत इसमें कहा, बताइए मुझे क्या गलत है अगर उन्होंने ये कहा कि बीजेपी, क्योंकि वो भी करते हैं, ये भी कर रहे हैं, सब लोग करते हैं, केजरीवाल जी कर रहे हैं, कांग्रेस हो, आम आदमी पार्टी हो, AIM हो, बीजेपी हो, तो वो सब पॉलिटिक्स के लिए कर रहे हैं. देखिए, एक राम की बात है, वो सबके लिए अराज्य है. मेरे लिए भी एज ए मुस्लिम, मेरे लिए भी बहुत मायने रखते हैं, और जो हमारे और भी भाई हैं, हिंदू भाई, उनके लिए भी बहुत वो है, हम उनका सम्मान करते हैं. लेकिन कोई लोग अगर इसको कहे बांटने की बात करके राजनीति के लिए उनको इन्वॉल्व किया जा रहा है, बार बार उस पर स्टेटमेंट दिया जा रहा है, तो वो गलत है. क्योंकि जो जिनकी शुरुआत ही इस चीज को लेके की है, वो लोग इस चीज पे सवाल ना उठाएं. भारतीय जनता पार्टी हमेशा से ही हिंदू मुस्लिम की
BJP तो in any
राजनीति
ways condemned as a party that is communal and of course uses religion. But in this case, what is being questioned or what is on test is how secular are other parties. They claim to be self-confessed secular, but are they truly? Have they also not mixed politics and religion, even policy and religion, as much as any other party in the country may have? Abhinandita Mathur, I'm coming to you. It is so obvious on the face of it. Suddenly, after 4 years, the Aam Aadmi Party is reviving this Sundarkand Path tradition. This was first launched and announced in the aftermath of the 2020 election victory, and then it fizzled out. So what is the justification by the Aam Aadmi Party to revive this now, but for the fact that you want to cash in on the sentiment ahead of January 22?
Namaskar, Shivani. First of all, I don't think that there is a good time or a bad time to pray. You know, I don't think that anybody needs to give a justification कि आज हम भगवान का नाम क्यों ले रहे हैं. I think that it is time for everybody, you know, to find whatever their faith is and sort of dwell into it in a certain way, in a local way, in a personal way, in a community way, and actually, you know, introspect and find the shanti that we need today. So I don't think that there is any need for a justification of why we are doing
But
this
why
today.
not? Why not 3 months ago? Why not 6 months ago? You've been in power for the last 4 years.
This is
in
not
this
a government.
term.
This is not a government program. This is an initiative of the Aam Aadmi
Sure,
Party.
let me ask as a party representative. Why now? Again, that question will be asked. Opposition is very quick to question timing.
Why
No,
not is what
I'm not
matters.
questioning your motives. I'm only questioning the timing. The opposition is always very quick to question timing of
If-
anything
if-
that the government
if
or
you
the
go-
BJP may
See,
do. Here,
if
your timing
I'll
will also
answer.
be questioned.
I'll answer.
Yeah.
So even if we were to sort of question the timing for a second, I think that the fact that, you know, Hanumanji was one of the greatest lover of Lord Ram. You know, this is the time to actually, because it is happening in the context, absolutely. Of course, it is happening in the context of the inauguration of the Ram Mandir, and why not?
Okay.
See, देखिए, one thing we have to understand, and I think सारे जो दर्शक हैं उनको भी ये बात समझ आएगी, that प्रभु राम जो हैं या कोई भी भगवान, वो किसी एक के नहीं है, वो डेफिनेटली किसी एक पार्टी के नहीं है. Today the BJP is going out and giving invitation cards as if उनके बेटे की शादी है, as if उनके घर का प्रोग्राम है.
No, BJP
That's
is not
true.
giving
I am a
invites.
Hindu, you are a Hindu, somebody is a Hindu or a Muslim or whatever. Lord Ram, is everybody's.
No, fair
And
enough.
we have also
There is
lots
absolutely
of,
no
and we have
discussion on
also
that.
lots of Hanumanji.
But
Who was
how do
great
you
Ram and
respond?
lots
not
of
inviting
Prabhu Ram.
Marwani ji and Mulli Manoj Joshi ji.
So
Abhinandita ji,
we
but the
have not
question
been
that
invited.
arises is that this attack on the Aam Aadmi Party and its quote unquote secular credentials has not come from the BJP today. It has come from a politician who will say that they are on the side of secular politics in India. In fact, they have accused the Aam Aadmi Party along with the Congress and the likes of Shiv Sena UBT. In any case, Shiv Sena was earlier not considered secular. It has become secular only since it joined the Congress party. I'll leave that aside. It is questioning your comparative Hindutva, that you are essentially no different in your politics and in your approach to woo the Hindu voter than the BJP or the RSS. This is what Mr. Owaisi is saying.
Yes, I don't think that don't think that it is necessary for us to actually respond to what respected Mr. Owaisi is saying. वो तो बहुत सारी चीजें बोलते हैं और वो कई बार ऐसी चीजें बोलते हैं that we don't agree with at all and find extremely problematic. What his agenda is, it is his place. You can ask him, but we have no response to what Mr. Owaisi is saying. We would just always pray for his well-being, and all communities' voices should have equal strength in this country. So we have no problem with anybody, but I don't think that we need to respond to Mr. Owaisi. He says many things, and sometimes his intentions are a bit dubious.
Okay. Anuja Kapoor, I want to come to you. What do you make of the fact that all opposition parties are doing their own thing? They don't want to be part of of this event, which is being termed a Modi or a BJP event in Ayodhya. But they're also not shying away from celebrating the occasion. The opposition parties also have a point that it's not as if they can't do it their own way. Why should the BJP have any objection if Arvind Kejriwal's party is organizing Sundarkand parts now in Delhi? You should be happy and welcoming it.
So Shivani, Happy New Year to you and to all the viewers, and Jai Shri Ram. Now, this is the music for some and a noise to the opposition. I would only appreciate the other panelists. Please don't speak in between when I would be speaking. So first thing and foremost, when I just heard, which really touched my heart in a very, very negative way, that was that ki बीजेपी के कौन से बेटे की शादी है जिसके कार्ड बांट रहे हैं. आई वुड जस्ट लाइक टू पुट इट फॉरवर्ड. जी बिल्कुल, हमारे बेटे की, हमारे भाई की शादी है और उनका जन्म है और उनकी प्राण प्रतिष्ठा है. तो हर एक हिंदू के बेटे की, भाई की प्राण प्रतिष्ठा का ये वक्त है. अगर आप ये समझ सकते होते तो आज इस तरीके की भाषा का उपयोग नहीं करते. Secondly, I would like to put it forward that the Aam Aadmi Party, who is now trying to show that they are very, very Hindu, are the same people whose leader Rajendra Pal Gautam spoke against Hindus, and they trying to convert Hindus in Buddhism. So they were the people who spoke on this. They are the same people. Arvind Kejriwal in Vidhan Sabha spoke against Kashmiri Pandits. So understand that. And they were the ones who mocked them. And they also said that Diwali and firecrackers should not be used and would not be used. And when they talk about, they not only talk about this, they talk about that hospital should not be made. It should be, a mandir should be not be made, but the hospital should be made. Why? Because they do not believe in temples. But they believe in Buddhism, they believe in Muslim, they believe in Christianism, all ism they talk about. They forget that when they talk about Hindus, they talk about Astha. Now, these Chunvi Hindus versus Hindus. The Chunvi Hindus who believe that they should be talking about votes. For us, it has always been the prima facie. You talk about Hindu, people talk about it's BJP. So they say that, but BJP is not the one who's giving invites. It's the VHP. It is the trust of Ram Mandir is giving the invites. And
no, fair enough.
To answer you, LK Advani ji has already been
I'll
called.
ask one question.
Okay,
yeah,
so
no, just a bit. But I do want Ms. Mathur to respond.
Shivani, they all got so much time.
Shivani,
one second, Kapil, one second.
They all got so much time.
So Abhinandita, you want to respond to that? This is an important question.
Very quickly.
Yes, Anuja, one second. There is a problem when in the run-up, when the decision was not final, these politicians, including leaders of your party, Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia at that time, were rubbishing the idea of the demand of a Ram temple by suggesting कि वहाँ पे hospital बना लो, वहाँ पे school बना लो. Now the same people today are waking up and they are devout Hindus and they are euphoric about the temple. They want to organize Sundarkand parts. You want the public to believe that?
तो शिवानी, जब देश में ऐसा माहौल हो, जब तक सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जजमेंट नहीं आया था, that an issue like this was dividing us. What we are seeking is Ram Rajya, where everybody is equal, where people have equal opportunities, जहाँ महिलाओं की इज्जत हो, जहाँ स्त्री और पुरुष को equal माना जाए, और ऐसी कई सारी बातें. That is what we are seeking. जब तक सुप्रीम कोर्ट का डिसीजन नहीं आया था और आपस में लोगों को लड़वाया जा रहा था, तब तक ऑब्वियसली कोई भी अच्छा हिंदू ये बोलेगा, कोई भी अच्छा भारतीय ये बोलेगा कि हमें और मुद्दों पे भी गौर करना जरूरी है.
That's not fair. So basically you've said that those who were wanting the Ram temple before the Supreme Court's judgment were bad Hindus.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
See, this is the problem.
Shivani, what I'm
national TV
I thought we had moved ahead of good Hindu, bad Hindu titles.
No, that is not what I mean.
Yes.
You have to give me a moment to explain. That is obviously not what I mean. What I mean is that as a good Hindu,
What is a good Hindu?
A good Hindu is somebody who believes in Ram Raj.
Yeah,
believe me, she's talking about good Hindu and she's talking about
and also
Hindu.
respects the other person's faith.
These are the people
So that
who
is what a good
spoke about
Hindu is.
Ram is
And
a vegetarian or a non-vegetarian. Imagine.
Then you should stick to that stand today
आज की
also.
डेट में got your point शिवानी. If you आज की डेट में अगर एक्चुअली कोई राम जी के या अच्छे धर्म के, कोई भी धर्म हो, धर्म के पाथ में चल रहा है, वो एक्चुअली अरविंद केजरीवाल जी आम आदमी पार्टी है, तो एटलीस्ट लोगों के पास अकाउंटेबिलिटी रखते हैं, एटलीस्ट एक राज धर्म में बातें हैं. बीजेपी तो राज धर्म को भूल गई है. क्या वो श्री राम के सीख को
Can I just come in?
I am telling you one thing.
And just to respond to what Anuja said earlier, and to respond to what Anuja said earlier about breaking Shadi, भाई आप लोग आज से नहीं, आप लोग बहुत सालों से इसको ऐसा बनाना चाहते हैं.
We are
अनुजा जी, आपका नाम अनुजा है, मेरा नाम अभिनंदिता है. It is more sanitized.
We are in the
as
same
Hindu
page.
as your name.
A secular
One second.
party is coming
Can I
back
just
with
come in?
good
Can I
governance.
just come in? I think it's absolutely
don't
passé.
show.
And it's absolutely wrong to be getting into the discussion of good Hindu and bad Hindu anymore. I'm sorry to say, this is exactly the politics that the country has rejected, that the country is fed up, because there are no questions over any other faith. The very fact that you said that we want, we should focus on other issues till that Supreme Court judgment came and it was dividing us. Why is that sermon only given to Hindus in this country?
Lord Ram is not merely an entity.
No, please
Lord
don't
Ram
just
is the way
quote
of life.
Lord Ram when
has
it suits
teaching.
you, when it's
Lord
used
Ram
as a
has,
stick
has
to beat Hindus
philosophy.
into not voicing their concerns. I'm sorry, Abhinandita, this is a
Shivani,
problem.
That is absolutely not
Ram
what I said.
Rajya and Lord Ram cannot be used as a stick to keep Hindus in check. That see, this is what Lord Ram stood for. So you should better not ask for this.
No.
This is divisive. This is communal. You should ask for this instead, that instead. If that is your belief, then you please stick to that belief today. Question
Not
is
at all,
exactly
not
this.
at all. That is not our belief.
Why the
And
change in
once the
stance?
honorable-
If you
once the
believed a
honorable
school or a
Supreme Court-
hospital was better
once
at
the
this
honorable
site,
Supreme
you should have the
Court gave-
conviction to
okay.
say yes. We would have rather built a school or a hospital.
We are all very, very, very happy that this is happening. There is no question or
Yeah,
no
but a good
doubt.
Hindu should not have asked for it. That is what your stand was. You just said
No,
that
that is
on the
not-
show.
No,
Now you can
yes,
change
that is
your
not
mind
what I'm
because the
saying.
Supreme
A good
Court has
Hindu
given
should
the
not
judgment.
make people
But how would
fight.
that Supreme Court judgment
A
have
good
come
Hindu
about
should
if
not-
bad
a good
Hindus
Hindu
had
should
not
not
fought
forget
for
about
it?
the active
Please,
responsibilities in that term.
Abhinandita, think about it. If bad Hindus who were harping on a Ram temple had not harped on a Ram
Shivani,
temple,
don't pick on
how
word.
would the Supreme
Please,
Court give a judgment?
Don't pick
The
on a
judgment
word.
would never
That's
have
what you're
come.
saying.
No,
Don't
you
pick
said
on
it.
the
You
word.
said
Shivani,
कोई भी अच्छा
ask
Hindu.
her who
No,
are
you
bad
said कोई भी
Hindus.
अच्छा
Ask
Hindu.
her.
I have not misquoted you. I think that analogy is something we have heard before. But I want to give both Kapil and Bilal 30 seconds each. Kapil, yes, very quickly. Kapil is okay. We'll try and get him back. Bilal Khan, you wanted to
One
come in.
question to Anuj. Yeah. I'm just asking one question to Anuj. जी, where is मुरली मनोहर जोशी जी, where is उमा भारती जी, and where is शंकराचार्य जी, जिनको होना चाहिए, जो हमेशा से फाइट रहे, उनको वहां होना चाहिए, उन लोगों को इनविटेशन नहीं दिया आपने. और आप बात कर रहे हैं राम मंदिर इनविटेशन, बेटा बाप कोई कह रहा है उसका जन्मदिन, इन्हीं चीजों में अटके रहेंगे। और आम आदमी पार्टी वाले कहाँ बात करते हैं?
अभी तो आप द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी के लिए पूछ रहे थे,
पड़े हुए हैं,
अभी तो आप द्रौपदी मुर्मू जी के पूछ रहे थे। Don't you think the invitation is with us? Sir,
बीजेपी और आम आदमी
politics. Everybody is there and everybody has got the invitation. We don't have to come to you and prove that whose invitation we are giving or not.
The whether who
So
has
you
been
make
invited
sure
and
on
not
this.
been invited, that's a
It is
separate
not
matter.
by
And
the
that
show.
debate we've held.
It
One
is the
second,
Ram
one second.
Mandir Trust
The
who's
issue
invited.
today, Anuja,
So you
the issue
please-
today I'm discussing.
playing politics in that.
We are just talking nonsense.
Modi show, not even you.
Why it is a Modi show? Why
is
it is a
totally
Modi show? Why do you think it is a Modi show? It is a Hindu show.
Very
sir.
Shankaracharya,
You live in
Shankaracharya,
India.
जो माँ के आपके
You are
माँ-
in
माँ ने
Bharat.
उनको
You
करना
should be.
चाहिए, but
You should.
you're
Are
not
you not a part of India? Are you
One
not a part
second,
of
one
India?
second.
I'm a
Are
part
you
Let's
of
not
not
a
make
India.
this
Bharatiya?
personal
Are
against
you
each
not a
other. Can I just
Bharatiya?
have Anuja
Are you
with me?
not a
Bilal,
Bharatiya?
just hang on. Bilal, just
Part
hang
of
on.
India.
Anuja, the question
Uma
is just
Bharti
this.
is playing.
More and more parties, and this is
What
not a
for Monday?
recent phenomenon that we witnessed in the run-up to January 22. We have seen this change happen over the last 6-7 years with the ascendancy of the BJP, one could argue, that more and more parties feel the need to play that quote-unquote Hindutva card, whether it's the Congress, whether it's the Aam Aadmi Party. Some do it more explicitly, some do it more implicitly. That is, at least the BJP would be happy that the core culture of Indian politics is changing. Or do you believe that this is all dubious devotion? That this is actually not devotion, this is just, keep dawning on that devotion because it suits the agenda today?
I don't think so. There is any kind of saying that it's suiting the agenda. Do you believe that we need to take any agenda? We are the people who talks on development. We talk upon niti, niyat and netritva. We have a neta. So believe me, please tell me, why would Modi ji need to do any kind of a propaganda?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying the opposition today feels compelled to play the quote-unquote soft Hindutva card. Are you happy about it? You feel that, okay, great, they're coming around, they're accepting that this was the right way to be, that India didn't need to be the kind of secularism, didn't need to be the kind of secular we were under Nehru? Or do you believe this is all an act?
First of all, Nehruji was not a secular. He never, stood with the Somnath temple. And secondly, when we
Only
talk about the opposition, I only believe, sir, allow me to speak.
What is
Opposition,
one by one,
opposition,
please.
when they,
Yes, Anuja, very quickly, I need to finish.
Nehru is not a secular.
Can I just have Anuja on air, please? Anuja, please.
When opposition is there, they are the ones who are just talking about shouldn't be Hindus, because they are the ones who take out a Santa Claus dress on one day, then they wear some other dress. I want to say that please be secular. Then you are secular, then how can you talk about Hindu? How can you just talk counter Hindu?
Okay.
You talk about everybody. If you're secular, then you tell now that you are Hindu also.
Okay,
So
I'll leave it at
talking?
that.
You
I've
are
run
the
out of
one-
time. I've run out of time. I do thank our guests for joining us. Who is more Hindu or less Hindu? That seems to be the fight that is going on today. But coming up, after a very short break, we have a special conversation in context of the Ram Mandir Ayodhya temple inauguration. Dr. Meenakshi Jain, eminent historian and Padma Shri, who's done great work on the evidence that existed in Ayodhya for the Ram temple and that was denied for many, many decades. She speaks on the Ayodhya reclamation and more. Stay tuned.
Modi Sarkar.
struggle of almost exactly 500 years, a Ram temple in Ayodhya on Ram Janmabhoomi is finally becoming a reality. On January 22, the consecration ceremony will be held and the entire country will be for the very first time watching the new Ram Lalla idol along with the old one as the ceremony takes place. And from the very next day, the doors of the new much awaited Ram temple in Ayodhya will be thrown open for the devotees. Now, in this journey of 500 years, 5 centuries, there are a lot of people, some noted, some nameless, faceless, who have contributed to keeping this dream, this faith alive. Today, it is my absolute pleasure to be amongst one such individual who has done yeoman service in the cause of reclamation of Indian history, Indian civilization, and particularly sites like Ayodhya. And it is my pleasure to introduce in our studios for the very first time Dr. Meenakshi Jain, Padma Shri, eminent historian who has done seminal work on the history of Ayodhya along with several other disputed sites in India. Today we're going to talk about not just Ayodhya but some others as well. Dr. Meenakshi Jain, it's such a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you. I want to begin by asking you, as a historian, you've done a lot of work on Ayodhya. Today, when the Ram temple is becoming a reality and the consecration ceremony is going to take place, what are the thoughts in your mind?
I never thought I would see this day in my lifetime. You know, when the Allahabad High Court judgment came in 2010, there was so much anti-judgment propaganda in the media, and I read some of the material and I was really appalled and shocked at how they were casting aspersions on the Allahabad High Court judges and saying that we will appeal to the Supreme Court because the Supreme Court will have no option but to overturn this third-rate defective judgment.
Wow.
And that is what compelled me to read that 5,000-page judgment of Dr. Sudhir Agarwal and the other judges. And that is when I became aware of how a handful of academics of a particular point of view, how they had held the entire country to ransom. And you know, they were helped by a section of the English media also. But if you examine the debate, it was only historians of 3 universities, Aligarh Muslim University, Jawaharlal Nehru University and Delhi University. There was hardly any participation of the vast number of historians in other universities in Delhi. And that should itself tell a tale.
You know, the fight for the Ayodhya temple has not just been a fight for obviously the devotees and the Hindu civilization that has for 500 years kept that memory of the Ram Janmasthan and the Mandir alive. But it has also been a fight for historians like yourself, for academics like yourself, isn't it? You fought a battle as well.
But I don't look upon myself as a victim. I learned a lot about the Hindu civilizational recovery by studying this issue. And that is something, it's not a vindication of a particular point of view or a particular individual. I look upon it as a very important step in the Hindu civilizational recovery. We have a long way to go. But still, without this first step, the next step could not be taken. And you know, this is the only site that the Hindus have reclaimed by a court verdict after 500 years of struggle. And you know, when we talk about 500 years of struggle, we must keep in mind that there was no Hindu political power in North India. That
for most of this time.
For most of this time, and that was prodding the devotees. The devotees were acting because of their confidence in the righteousness of their cause. And you know, history has a way of unfurling itself, if I can put it that way. Every bit of evidence that strengthened the Hindu case was available to us before 1947. So people who say that this is a BJP, RSS, VHP driven agenda, they're totally wrong. You know, I just want to make a point. There was a Jesuit priest, Joseph Tiffenthaler. He lived in India for 40 years died in Awadh region and traversed that region for almost 7 years. And you know, he writes over there that the number of Hindus who come to do parikrama of the Janam Sthan is absolutely amazing. It talks about the Vedi, Chabutra, which is the birthplace. But more important than that, in 1850, the government appointed the Amin Commission to give a survey of all the buildings that were there in that site. And the most remarkable statement of that commission was what they call Parikrama Khai Char Taraf, which means that that area around the masjid had got a deep depression.
Because people would come and do parikrama there.
So, and who were these people? They were people, ordinary people, who never got anything from anyone, but their devotion to Ram, it was so intense that one thing I want to say, if I can say, that you know, there was the queen of Orcha. Orcha is quite far away from Ayodhya. She decided that she will come to Ayodhya and seek darshan of Lord Ram. So, in the 16th century, you can imagine what the conditions were, and there was no, you know, Hindu king to support her or to provide protection, but she with her entourage travelled from Orcha till Ayodhya, and she waited there, but she never got darshan of Ram Lalla. So, she said, you know, I will now end my life in the Saryu. So, she moves to the Saryu and she starts, you know, she starts,
going into the water.
Going into the water. When she is going into the water, her foot touches something and she lets out a scream. So, all the people who are with her, they go to the Saryu and find out what has happened, and they find that there is an image of Ram Lalla that her foot had touched.
Okay.
So, she took back that image to Orcha and it is there in a temple in Orcha, which you can see even today.
Right.
So, that is the,
you know, that's the beauty of the continuity of the faith involved here.
Yes.
But can you tell me a little bit about, because your book on Ayodhya came out in 2013, you know, that is before you mentioned the RSS and the BJP came to power, and you mentioned in your lifetime you never imagined this would be a reality, and everybody I talked to from that generation, from that era says the same thing. We never imagined that this could be a reality. The times were such and the odds were stacked so much against the Ram temple that nobody saw it coming eventually. But what was you know, your personal experience like when you were researching about Ayodhya? You know, I think you found it problematic to get your book published at that time.
First of all, the whole journey was a real revelation for me, because I did not understand the depth of Hindu emotional involvement in the deities. Of course, when I finished the book, I couldn't find a publisher. I didn't want to name the publishers who refused. Then, you know, I thought that, you know, I'll die before the
book is published.
book is published, and when I die, they will say she has left behind so many manuscripts, no published work.
Oh my God!
But it was due to some very kind friends who introduced me to my present publisher, and he was happy to publish it. And after that, I can say I have not looked back.
Yes, yes. Well, in fact, one can say that the reclamation process in itself has not looked back since then, because you know, the work of a lot of people like you has helped in convincing Hindus that this is something that they should continue to fight for, that this is their right. Because mentally it was, from what I remember, mentally it was always asked, one, why do you need a temple there? What is the proof that Lord Ram existed or was born there? Or the fact that, you know, a temple was never destroyed. This is what historians of a particular bent of view have always said. Which part of this narrative did you think was the toughest to break?
See, every bit of the narrative could be easily broken because the evidence was so much. It's just that we refuse to look at the evidence. We mean certain academics. Now, the thing is that, you know, we have evidence, sculptural evidence of the antiquity of Ram worship The earliest is 2nd century before Common Era. That is 2500 years old at least. And it shows Ravan picking up Sita, and Sita is throwing her jewelry in the hope that it will help somebody to find her. Now, a small terracotta, but the person who made that terracotta knew that whoever sees it will identify
who you're talking about,
who it is. So, you know, these kind of things, we have a sculpture of Ram with Ram written in Brahmi on the dhoti, you know, 3rd, 4th century. We have so many panels from temples where the whole Ramayana story is depicted in temples, and from the 12th century we had grand temples made for Shri Ram. So, it's very, very easy to trace.
And this is important because I believe the leftist historians had suggested at one time that a temple could not have existed when the mosque was built there, because Ram worship is an 18th, 19th century phenomenon.
Yeah, and so the temple which was destroyed by Babur itself was the 12th century. And 3 important temples were built in the 12th century in northern India in honor of Lord Ram, and the inscriptions were there. Now, you talk about, they said that it was built on vacant land. Now, when the Allahabad High Court ordered excavations at that site, it was very particular that every day's findings will be recorded in a register signed by representatives of both parties, and no excavation will be conducted without the presence. Now, what happened was, as the remnants of temples began to come
out,
these people, they said that it was not built on vacant land, it was built on a Eidgah. Now, the Allahabad High Court said that till now you were saying it's built on vacant land. Why are you saying it's built on Eidgah now? And in your books that you wrote before this excavation, you all said it was built on vacant land. So, the loopholes were too many to be, you know, they could not be taken seriously at all. The point that we have to understand from this whole controversy is how important documentation is. The Allahabad High Court and the Supreme Court gave the temple to the Mandir party because of the absolute phenomenal amount of evidence that was there. And one thing I want to say, that in the British period, in 1858, that is when litigation started in the British courts on Ayodhya by the Mahants of the Janamsthan. You know, what is the meaning of Mahants of the... Now, we must understand that the Babri Masjid, that complex, there was a compound. In that compound was the masjid, and the open part of it was open. So, until 1858, that is Patrick Carnegie, the first settlement officer of Faizabad district, he says till 1858, Hindus had free run of the masjid, they could worship there as well as the compound outside. It is only we who constructed a
boundary wall,
boundary or a fence, so that the Hindus could not enter the masjid, and the masjid party would remain in the structure and the Hindus would remain outside. Now, the Hindus had a tendency that they will build something as close as possible to the structure that they have lost. So, they built a Ram Chabutra just outside the masjid, but the Ram Chabutra was built in a way that, you know, you could always have darshan of the masjid. So, you know, these cases were filed, and the first case, the FIR is filed by a Thanedar, and he refers to this structure as Masjid-e-Janamsthan. So, nowhere in the world will you see a masjid named as Masjid-e-Janamsthan, and the Mutawalli of Babri Masjid, they come around 1850s, because till that time we don't have any evidence of them there. So, he writes a complaint to the British, and he says that these 25 Nihang Sikhs
have come in and taken control.
And he signs himself as Mutawalli Masjid-e-Janamsthan. He is himself admitting. And you know what is so remarkable about this whole thing, is that I read in the papers that the descendants of those 25 Nihang Sikhs are going to be there in January at Ayodhya, and they are going to offer free langar to. They remember that, you know, we did this, our ancestors did it. So when, you know, people say that Hindus have no memory, they have a very fantastic memory on things that concern them.
But do you believe that, you said earlier, for example, that in 1947 itself, enough evidence existed for this case to be settled? Obviously, later an excavation only added to what the evidence already was there. But why do you think this case was never settled till 2019 for 50, 70 years?
The left intervention, it dates to 1989. That is when they wrote their first pamphlet. At that time, there was a very serious debate among the leaders of the Muslim community. They said, you know, we should hand over this site because the site has no meaning for us, but it means so much to the Hindus. And that is when the left historians entered the fray and they said, don't surrender this site, you have so much evidence, we will provide you the evidence. So, you know, this is something that really needs to be discussed and exposed actually, how a handful of historians and Western English media, how they were responsible for vitiating the atmosphere
and dragging this case out.
See, the evidence, the court cases from 1858 till 1947, they were all preserved in the Faizabad District Court, that is in the British period. All right. The first revenue settlement of the British period of 1860 referred to that site as Janamsthan. It never mentioned Babri Masjid. Now, 1944, the Waqf Commissioner, he sent 2 reports and he says the masjid is closed, it's locked, it's opened just 2 hours before the masjid on Fridays, it is cleaned and then it is locked again. And he says it's very difficult for us to offer namaz there because the hostile groups that are surrounding the masjid. So all this evidence was there, plus the accounts of William Finch, Joseph Tiffentheller. So there was no debate. The only thing was that the ASI proved, excavations proved, continuous occupation of that site from the 2nd millennium BC.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And there were actually 2 remains found, one of a 10th century temple and then on top of that a 12th century temple, which was a much larger temple.
Now this building on top of a temple is a facet of our history that we find in other sacred places also. Because according to a Hindu tradition and according to the Hindu Shastras, a temple site is never lost. So even if it is occupied by strangers for hundreds of years, that is what the Shastras say. So if a temple is destroyed, you cannot surrender that site.
You build over it again and again.
So in Kashi, for example, in Ayodhya that you mentioned, the ASI found the 10th century structure. It says it was short-lived. They don't tell us why it was short-lived, but the 12th century temple that Babur destroyed was built on that 10th century temple. No. And when the inscription fell off the walls of Babri Masjid
the
in 1990,
inscription that was found in excavation.
So that inscription gave a full history of the family who built it, 25 verses long. It's a big inscription. And it talks about, it is made in honor of the person who killed the 10-headed whatever. But what I found very interesting is that towards the end, the inscription talks about fear of the Westerners. So the fear of the Westerners leads me to speculate that it refers to earlier attacks at this site
on temples
before Babur. And we know that Mahmud Ghaznavi's son came here, you know. So what he did over here, we can only hazard a guess, but he came here and it is possible that he or his successor
also tried to destroy the temple there.
Destroyed a temple.
You know, the interesting thing is that Somnath was obviously reconstructed post-independence, but the same was not done for Ram Janmabhoomi. And there is an interesting facet that you have talked about, how when the Ram Lalla idol came into the structure, there was an attempt to build a temple there in the late 1940s, soon after independence. And there seemed to be an agreement at that time at the level of the UP government to let that construction take place. But it was the intervention of Jawaharlal Nehru as the Prime Minister that stalled it.
But when the image was installed, it really shook the Nehru government. And the Nehru government wrote to Govind Ballabh Pant, who was the Chief Minister of UP, and he said this is going to very unfortunate development. And the ICS officer who's over there, he is not neutral at all. And it's going to have major repercussions on our relations with Pakistan and China, and Kashmir. So we don't know what the repercussions were. But KK Mohammed, who was the commissioner over there, he was told by the UP government that you please prepare for removing the idol, the image, why should I call it idol? Removing the image of Ram Lalla at the dead of night. So let us remove that image. And he said there is no way that I will find a Pandit in the entire UP who will agree to do this.
And you mean KK Nair?
KK Nair. So what did I say?
KK Mohammed.
No, KK Nair.
Yes.
So he said there is no Pandit I will find
who will
do this. And when you are suggesting this, he adds in that letter, those letters are available, that you have no idea of the depth of Hindu feeling for Ram Lalla. So, and soon after that, the ordinary people of Uttar Pradesh, they wrote a letter saying that we want to build a grand temple. So this desire to build a grand temple for Ram Lalla is not a recent phenomenon.
Yes, it has always been there.
It's been there.
But had the central government at that time supported that cause, do you think it was possible at that time?
There is no way the central government was going to support it. There was no way that the central government was going to support the construction of a Ram temple in 1947 or 1950. Because the central government, if I can put it that way, was not in harmony with the civilizational heritage of this country.
Nehru had famously opposed the reconstruction of Somnath as well.
Absolutely, that's on record.
Yes.
He, he was against all this, the civilizational recovery, if I can put it
Hindu
that way.
Hindu revivalism, he called it.
Yeah, but that's not true. It was a civilizational recovery. And you're talking about Somnath. I wonder how many people know that Somnath was destroyed at least 6 times. And why is it that many masjids were built on the site of a temple? There was no dearth of land available. They could have been constructed elsewhere, but they were constructed again and again on the sites of the temple. And the Hindus went on reconstructing those temples with the same name, but of course much modest structures, because they didn't have the resources. And the last time that Somnath was demolished was at the time of Aurangzeb. He was 80 plus at that time, and he writes a letter to his governor in Gujarat, saying that these Hindus, they have this tendency to go on and on rebuilding temples. Go to Somnath and see if they have revived worship. If they have, then destroy the temple in such a way that they cannot
come back.
So there were clear lines.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows why they did it, but there has been an attempt, this reminds me, there has been an attempt by leftist historians to suggest that, there was no religious angle in the breaking of the temples, even if they agree that temples were broken, that this was more, conquest for wealth, etc. But that's clearly not the reason.
No, but if it was for wealth, how is it that the Somnath temple is attacked again and again when it had no wealth?
Exactly.
It could have wealth when it was first attacked. But 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, what was the wealth attached to Now tell me, why were the Bamiyan Buddhas destroyed in 2000?
No wealth there.
There was no wealth there.
Exactly.
So it is an ideology, and we will be doing disservice to our past and to the sacrifices of so many ordinary people if we do not pay adequate attention to the ideological forces at work.